We want to say welcome back, still on Good Morning Anambra, and then this time around, discussion on a very topical issue. What are we going to talk about? Is all about the budget of Nigeria. The passage has been delayed for quite some time now, and we're having stories over the years. We don't know why. We're going to answer the why. We're going to know the reason behind it. And of course, all other issues concerning the passage of the national budget. To help us do this discussion, we have Dr. Nwachukwu. We want to regard you as a public affairs analyst. Is that what you are? Welcome.
Of course. I'm an economist also.
An economist. Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And also we have Barrister Kristie Ndife, is public affairs analyst. That's what we're going to take today. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. So how do we begin? Let's begin with the economists. Nigerian budget. We heard so much about it. Last time it was budget padding. This time it's delay in being passed. So why the Nigerian budget is always like that? Let's start with that.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers. On budget, even the common woman in the market seems to annually hear about a word called budget without feeling it. We remember on this 2018 budget, the president presented the proposal November last year, 2017. An ample time for them to look at it. In recent times, most voices from the National Assembly, who are actually having the bulk of the blames for the delays, are trying to explain to us that it's the delay of the MDAs, that is ministries, departments, and agencies, who made the inputs to the presidency for the presentation of the proposal in November last year. Is that delay to come and substantiate, if you like, to give the details of the information available in the spending pattern, because this is a fiscal document that powers the annual spending. As a few days ago, the Chairman House Committee on Education, Zakari Mohammed, made a personal, if you like, express some frustration that even the Minister of Education has not responded to their calls to come and defend the budget before passage, though he gave a promise that it has to be done by end of April. So, if you like, it's delay of the agencies that made inputs of the annual ritual. Most of the time, they have to ask them, how come this is going on? Let me quickly give you an example. The National Library project that started in 2006 with 7.8 billion is moved up to 78 billion by Reynolds Construction Company. Sorry, they're benefiting from your media advertisement by them calling out the company. And how could you in 2006 to this 78 billion, and yet the job done there is scanty? They have issues with the WAEC and JAM, trying to justify that they are spending from their resources directly, whereas they have provisions for their own spending. And they have to justify why these things are happening so. So if you call in some agencies or heads of departments, or the registrars, for instance, of WAEC, or the Universities Commission, or the Education Minister, or his technocrats that follow these things up, and they don't come to justify their inputs, the delay is mandatory.
Okay, the budget was actually brought before the National Assembly in November last year,
yes,
and it's supposed to take effect January, and this is April. This is the 5th month. How long is a budget supposed to to be in the National Assembly before it's passed?
Point of correction. Are you following up on that?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The budget is not supposed to take effect in January.
It's not supposed to take. Okay.
When is it supposed to take effect?
The fiscal budgetary cycle is March.
March.
For federal government?
Yes,
okay.
March.
Was it not the kind of delay that dragged you to March?
No, it's not the delay.
Originally, it was supposed to be between.
It's at the end of the March, it becomes critical.
It becomes critical.
Yes.
But when is the National Assembly supposed to have signed it? When is this supposed to have been passed?
Let me give
before it takes effect.
Let me give you one example. Canada, for instance, have gone and running with their budget since February.
Canada.
Yes, for instance. But in Nigeria, you have issues. I don't want to call it padding, but when you find a situation where a kilometer of road is 1 billion naira, even if it's in Oka, by a federal government, for instance, I'm giving an example, and the National Assembly wants the minister to come and justify why is just 1 kilometer costing 1 billion. Or when the budgetary input makes you want to make a prioritization of particular projects that are ignored, and somebody doesn't come in, it doesn't become a National Assembly issue anymore. It's the issue of who presented the project, and for which reason they are asked to come and justify their presentations. It's on the NDAs. They don't come.
Okay, let's look at it from the angle of helping the masses, because we know that budget is for the masses anyway, to really get to the nooks and crannies of the population in the country. Now, judiciously, why is it not being implemented, or rather being passed up to today? Because that's just the aspect we are still talking about. What is the role of judiciary, so to speak, in order to get it?
As a matter of fact, in Nigeria, I don't think the judiciary has much to do where it comes to the passing of budget. Because of the issue with division of power, every aspect of the government has its own roles and we have to act. And the judiciary is just there to give them advice as it concerns the law. And as a matter of fact, the budget is supposed, from my own point of view, from the judicial point of view, every nation should have a bearing as the year comes around. And from January, February, there should be a guideline, a direction where the country is going. And the judiciary has been there, advising them, this is the way it should be, this is the provision of the Constitution concerning the budget. But you can only take a dog to the water, you won't force the dog to drink. And from the judicial point of view, there is it has been made known to them, this is what it should be. But where the parastatals, the government, those that are supposed to bring on to forward the bill to the House, for approval, if they are not up and doing, as a matter of fact, we are all in Nigeria. There are limitations to what the judiciary can do. Let me just continue.
Okay, let's concentrate more on the delay, because from what Doc is saying, it's obvious that the MDAs who are supposed to bring impute, the person that actually made the statement is referring to the fact that there are certain required information that are very vital that will be included in the budget that is not there. And as a result of that, the National Assembly cannot do anything unless those important facts are there. Then who should be held responsible now in this issue? Is it?
Let me also come in. There's not just the information. They also went ahead to say that the formats. This is coming from Akabeze. Akabeze is the Director General of the Budget Office. That the formats. They didn't submit it in the prescribed format. I don't know which one we are going to take now.
Well, I think it should be the work of the economist to talk about. It is not for the judiciary to tell you the format, how the.
All right.
Okay, we're not referring to just the judiciary this year, because in this circumstance. Rather, we are discussing it holistically as Nigerians and the benefit we derive from the budget being passed early. Because if it is passed early, then everybody will have a kind of benefit from it. So, as an economist, based on the issue we are talking now, what bearing does it have when people who are supposed to bring information and facts that regarding the budget did not bring it?
Thank you. You know, it's a systematic issue. And as we know, the budget inputs come from the ministries, from the government departments and the government agencies. And you find a colossal failure in their interrelationship in trying to collect information that leads to budgetary procedures. And that's key. And they're very, if you like, insensitive to the power of that instrument of fiscal administration of government, which is budget. Where budgets, in the last years, as long as we can remember, are hardly implemented beyond 20%. So it's even, there's shortfalls added to delays. The effect, as you ask, is actually your guess as good as mine. The economy will be in a standstill. Contractors are not paid. Engagement by government cannot be fulfilled. Even emoluments may be delayed. So the effects, multiply effect, is actually galloping. But the question here is, and as you did ask, why and on whose desk can we pass the bulk? It's not National Assembly.
Who? If it's not National Assembly.
National Assembly does not generate budget.
Okay.
They only review budgets.
But I know that this delays that you talked about coming from the MDAs,
yes,
that sometime after the problem of the budget padding of 2016-17,
yes,
that the Vice President Oshibanjo said that all the MDAs must submit their own input,
yes,
6 months,
yes,
to the time that the budget will be presented. And most of them have complied. Perhaps that was why that budget was able to be submitted November last year. Now, where lies this delay?
You have to defend it after submission. It's not a rollover. You have to defend the details of what you actually put in as your budget spending. And that's, for instance, why did National Assembly have to summon the Minister of Education 24 hours? That he must appear here 24 hours. That is to say, appear at the floor of the House to defend his inputs, even on the National Library, on the WAEC, and including, of course, the National Universities Commission. These are educational institutions. And it's across the board.
Are you saying that out there in the developed world, that people, ministries and agencies don't defend their budgets? How come our own will be delayed by like 5-6 months?
No, they do in developed and even here. But the irony is that budget is a rollover thing where people just put in, with due respect, figures for reasons of provisions. And the National Assembly comes in to asking them to justify their inputs. If you say you are making this and that, for example, I want to use just one single example. I can go across, but the time won't let us go through that. But I want to use Ministry of Education National Library project at Abuja, where the National Assembly is insisting that there have to be a prioritization of the National Library, that no nation can function without a National Library, where the Assembly members and senators can fall back for their research. And it's been on from 8.6 billion at the point of award to the current review of 78 billion. And yet, work done, that was a review to 15 billion, that was another to 48 billion, now it's 78 billion. And it's calling you, can you tell us how it is so? And what's your milestone in achieving it? If you don't come to respond, there will be delay.
Okay, now there are
sorry, before you ask a question, we want to tell our viewer the numbers are there on your screen. You can maybe ask question or make contribution to what you're talking about here. Delay in the passage of national budget. Well, your contribution will maybe help in facilitating whatever we're talking here.
Okay, there has been, from the opposition actually, they've been accusing the ruling party that there are some things they want to do okay, sorry, the presidency recently signed this $1 billion for procurement of military equipment. Now, I was like, are these things not supposed to be captured in our budget? And when eventually, if they are captured in our budget, eventually when this budget is finally passed, what are they going to do? With the already signed money, are they going to start amending the budget again? I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably, I think this is one of the things that is causing the delay, because if the parastatals have been given a mandate to submit the budget 6 months ago, and we're all in Nigeria, we see how the economy is, and things keeps coming up, going down, and all those stuff. That means that budgets that have been passed on to the National Assembly 6 months ago might not be feasible, might not be what is needed presently. And just like what you said, if the budgets had been passed and all these things comes up, that means the budget is not workable, because we will still need to amend to implement. So probably all these things are what has been causing the delay, so that we make sure we come out with a holistic budget that will be all encompassing.
What do you think is the implication of this?
Our presidential system of governance allows the presidency access to emergency strategic spending, which you can source extra budgetarily. That's why sometimes you hear about supplementary budgets after the implement budget. We shouldn't forget that the president asks for that money from a particular source, not from a current or future budget. We're discussing a budget of 2018, I asked for this money last year. And the doubts of the opposition party was not the need or the prudence in that request. Their doubt was a previous proclamation by the ruling party that Boko Haram has been conquered. That was where the grass was. Therefore, if it's been conquered as declared, why do you need extra money for that military pursuit? And that was where the arguments came. They justified the need to sustain their success, and as we see, as we can feel, it's not part of this discussion this morning, but on the delay of passage of budget, I believe, as we all know, practically speaking, evidencing it as part of the system we are, budget defending is the reason for the budget.
Okay, budget defending is the reason. Let us look at it from the opposition, point of view, because most of them, what they are presenting is the election is coming 2019, and then it's like what the budget was last year is going to be a little bit larger and bigger as a result of the election. And the opposition are also accusing the presidency of maybe using the money so mentioned for the purchase of arms is made for something else, and not what it is being designed for, that is the arms, but for elections. Are you in any way trying to feel that the delay is as a result of trying to factor into it what will be used for election 2019?
We are on air, we're on television, and these are strategic issues that have to do with military and defense. We're casting our minds back. Somewhere around 2014, on the eve of elections, similar approval and disbursement was made to the tune of the same $1 billion.
When did you say that happened?
Last year?
2014.
14, okay.
So, extra budgetary spending that are strategic most times come in unquestionably from those high offices and high institutions like the presidency. And they are not questionable. The only problem we have is when an organ of government, like Office of the Budget, as headed by Professor Ben Nwachukwu, this said that the former didn't include the document that went in. He has his own reservations too, because he's a very high-profile technocrat, well-tested. So when they come up with all those kind of things they do in the system that form the echoes we hear about abuses and what they called pardon at the time, such people who are highly technocratical and have made what their onions can come out openly, even when they're in government, to oppose what may be wrong as seen from our blind eyes. Part of the budget concern is that what I'm talking here now, discussing, over 80% are not seeing that or hearing because there's no electricity. It's budget related.
But there's something you said earlier, Doc. When you talked about that the president have the power, to do, there's something you call supplementary budget. How do we begin to make supplementary budget when the real budget have not been passed?
No, it's still running on the current budget.
It's still running on
the 2017 budget. Yes.
But you said it's supposed to the current one is supposed to be end by March.
Now the system of governance allows you access to money to a percentage until passed. It allows you a percentage to draw.
Or are you saying as long as the current year's budget has not been passed, you are still running on the previous year's budget?
No, if you have exhausted the previous budget, how would you run on it? You have to get on current income.
Was that why he's asking for supplementary?
No, he hasn't asked. He only asked for that approval to find a source of a foreign reserve, not a current income, to deploy onto the procurement for the Boko Haram pursuit in the northeast, which they felt was not right, because I declared that he has conquered that aspect of the war on Boko Haram. But I'm trying to say here that if the National Assembly had given us their word that by end of April, the delay will be over, they will pass it.
Okay, we may not really be right in all we have said about the delay, where it's coming from, because I heard the Senate President Saraki made a comment on the delay and the passage of the budget, and if you allow me, I would like to read it out. He said that he expressed regrets over the delayed passage of the 2018 budget, saying there must be a collaboration and engagement between the executive and the legislature. So long as the process of the passage of the budget is not based on participation, engagement, and collaboration, much will not be realized.
The same thing we are saying, MDAs, as executive.
And not just that, there's this accusation that the rift between the executive and the legislature is equally what is holding the budget. And when Ijoma was reading this, I was actually trying to picture that report.
That's what I'm saying, because he never mentioned the MBAs. He was actually looking at the relationship between the executive and the legislature, because sometimes you see that each of them want to get back at each other.
Yeah, the executive.
You don't give me this, I won't give you this.
The executive is the MDA, ministries that actually champion and anchor the budget for spending, departments of government, and their agencies, they make up the executive. And that's what the Senate President, as alluded, was referring to. And he said there must be a collaboration. If it's not the case, why should Honorable Zakari Mohammed, a few days ago, the Chairman House Committee on Education, summoned the minister to appear before them within 24 hours? There was a delay, arising for not responding. But the further they delay, they put the National Assembly under pressure to quickly pass it because of the statutory deadline and timeline. So if you don't come in as you are called, the pressure will be on National Assembly to pass it. It will be on people's courts. You are delaying our budget. You have to make it clear and obvious, that you have to come here within 24 hours. Whatever your priorities, come and defend your budget.
And what do you think is causing the delay from the MDAs? Why are they not coming forth?
Attitudinal.
Attitudinal. That has no.
Attitudinal. Why shouldn't you come and defend your attitudinal?
Okay. Let's get down to the implication of this. We know it has lasted over the years. For about 8 years, none of our budgets have been passed on time. It has taken 4 months, 6 months, 7 months, 5 months, just like that. What is the implication of this on our national economy? Okay, let me start with you, Barrister.
It has a lot of detriment on our economy. And we all know that where the budget is not forthcoming as a wet due, the economy is affected in that you don't know which way to go. And we keep fumbling, do the things how we can, just see how we can it affects the economy. Because, like when you come to the education sector, it has a detriment on it in that we don't know how far. Those in the Ministry of Education may have the heart to move our education sector to a higher level. But because the budget is not there, they don't know how much will be released for them. They don't know what they should go for. And as they keep waiting and waiting, there is delay. And there is stagnancy generally in the country where the budget is not forthcoming, because you can't work with an empty hand. You can't work when you don't have a source. You are not sure that what you have actually submitted will be approved in total. So it causes delay. It causes stagnancy. Let me just use the word. It causes stagnancy in our economy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Prof,
I'm sure you want
specific.
Yes, of course. It's like a household. You have no salary, for instance. You can't deploy your wife to go to market. You can't pay the school fees of your children. So also in the bigger picture, if you have budgets, things that came up of national fiscal inputs for spending, not only in capital area, but also in the recurrent. And if you don't release the budget are based on this capital and recurrent expenditure headings, there will be, in a simple straight language, there will be a roadblock. They will move forward. A contractor cannot be paid. Salaries cannot be paid. International engagements may not be fulfilled, which are related to budget releases. Roads cannot be constructed. Take, for instance, Anambra State. As beautiful as it is, if there's no budget to run the street lights, then you won't have light in the night. And there will be criminality all around the places. So, translate that into the national sphere. If the budget is delayed and no money to spend, already we have a backlog of underperformed budget. What I call underperformance, we know, is that when budget is actually approved at National Assembly for spending, the executive may not have the money to release for you to actually match it. Already we have that problem. Now they have it not even approved at all. And that means we are actually running on red. And today, the revenue aspect of government expectations is dwindling. In fact, it's very slow. It's very small. The advice by so many, especially from National Assembly, particularly, no need mentioning names here, did say that government should get up in their IGR because national expectations are actually going down. That's why they're not
what the federal or the state governments?
Well, federal. We're talking about federal.
Investors, coming into this nation,
yes,
for instance, what do you think will happen with them, with the delay of this budget?
Of course, investors expect a vibrant economy. It depends on which sector. And the vibrancy of the economy is in the spending. That's the injection. Putting money into it to inject it, to galvanize it. So if an investor needs a matching fund as a joint venture, how does the government bring this matching fund if there's no budget? Would you bring all this fresh money? If you want to invest, there must be judicial point of view on security of funds. Their returns to investment, the environment. If you have no activated economy that is vibrant running, where do you expect to do the investment? For instance, I don't know. You want to invest in road infrastructure, you want to invest in manufacturing, and people are not having the activity level to have cash flow.
Okay, if I should come in that, I think no investor will want to invest his money when he's not sure of the security of his capital. And where a country doesn't have a budget, I don't think any foreign investor will want to invest his money knowing that that country doesn't have a bearing. And every businessman has a profit-oriented interest. And no foreign investor will want to invest his money where he is not sure of having his money back, talk more of having gains. And where there is no budget, that means it's not safe.
Okay, we're going to take a short break now. When we return, we're going to discuss more on the implications, how it affects the masses, the delay, and then how early should our budget be passed. Apart from that, why are governments going to borrowing when the budget is still not passed and things of that nature? We're going to talk about that when we return. That is after this break. Stay with us.